Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Core AI Clips. And this is my first video and I'm starting with Python for beginners. And this channel is mainly for students and beginners who want to learn Python step by step and in a clear and simple way. Well, I have divided Python into 8 phases so you don't feel confused or overwhelmed. And today we are starting with phase 1, Python foundations. And this phase is very important because it builds the base for everything else. Well, what we will learn in phase 1. In this phase, you will understand what is Python, how Python runs code, variables and basic data types. Also, how to print output and how to write readable code. So, there's no coding pressure in this video. First, let's understand the concepts. What is Python? Python is a high-level programming language. It is used in data science, artificial intelligence, web development, automation, and many real-world applications. Well, Python is popular because it is easy to read, easy to write, and also a beginner-friendly. Well, Python is not the fastest language, but it is one of the most practical languages. Let's see how Python runs code. Python is an interpreted language. That means Python reads your code line by line and executes it immediately. Well, there are three main common ways to run a Python code. The first one is using Python terminal, and the next one is using .py file, and the third one is using tools like VS Code or Jupyter Notebook. No matter which tool you use, Python works in the same way. Variables. It's a very important concept in Python. So let's begin with that. It is the easiest way to understand a variable is to think of it as a container. A variable is a container that stores a value. For example, if x is equal to 10, here x is a container and 10 is the value inside in it. If I write x is equal to 20, now the container x stores a new value and a variable help us to store the data and reuse it in our program. Well, this is how the beginner should think about variables, which is simple and clear. Data types. Python has different types of data and the most important ones are int, float, string and boolean, where int is a whole numbers like 10, 20, 42, and the float are decimal numbers like 3.5, 3.14, and the third one is string, which is a sequence of characters, nothing but a text, like hello, hi, how are you, and the boolean means it is having two values, the true and false. Well, Python automatically understands the type of data. You don't need to declare it separately. Well, every value in Python has a type. You can check it using the type function. Also, understanding the data types helps us to avoid errors later. Type conversion. Sometimes we need to change one data type into another. This is called type conversion or also known as casting. For example, string, int, and float. This is very important when working with user input. Remember, input, the function input gives you a string output. But whenever you want to mention what kind of input you want, so it is always important to mention before the input function. Well, here we can see the int is mentioned before input. Writing clean print statements and printing the output. To display output, we use the function print. So the best way to, whenever we are combining two different data types. The old one we don't use because it may causes errors which may lead to confusion and everything. So the modern and very clean way is to use the strings where we can easily combine two different data types. Here we can see we are combining name, which is string, and also integer in a very easy way using formatted strings. now which is nothing but f strings. Comments and readability. These comments helps us to understand the code. They are written using hashtag for single line comments. We use semicolons for the multi-line comments. Also, comments should explain why and what are we doing and what the code is doing or how the code is working. Well, the good code is code that is it is easy to read, easy to understand, and can be understood later as well. That's all for the phase one. In phase one, we learned so far about what is Python, how Python runs a code, variables as a containers, also the basic data types in Python, and printing output and writing readable code. Well, this is your foundation, and in phase two, we will learn about if else conditions, loops, and how to use Python to make decisions. If you are a beginner, don't skip phases. Subscribe and continue with phase two. Thank you so much.